The presenters on the paper, the first and second session, Russian delegates, our former director, Dr. Murthy, and also the staff of ISIS and Madam Khan. Thank you. And I hand over this to our chairperson of the present session, Mr. Chairman.
From here you can go.
There the first session. The first session, there are 3 papers to be presented on the alternative energy sources. The first one, Dr. Mr. Simo, Head of the Department, Institute of Strategic Studies. Second one, the alternative source of energy by Dr. B.S. Negi, Director, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. Third is consumption issues in energy security by Dr. Naresh Kumar Sharma, University of Hyderabad. The alternative sources of energy, I understand the alternative is from the fossil fuel based energy. Basically what the commercial energy today in India or maybe elsewhere also, the bulk of it comes from the fossil fuel, where it is coal, oil or natural gas. They constitute the bulk of the energy. Anything other than this probably we can call it as alternative sources, sometimes renewable sources. Earlier we used to call it non-conventional resources, which has also been changed. In the Indian context, there are no general law covering all these areas. There is a law covering the electrical part of it separately, and there is a separate law relating to the petroleum and natural gas. There are certain areas where these biofuels and all, there are no really any law or regulation or guidance, anything periodically, except some policy statements or some programs done by the Government of India. In fact, in the Central Election Regulatory Commission, we have been discussing this issue with the government also. We suggested, though there is a integrated energy policy committee, even where the Prime Minister himself is heading that, the downward there are a lot of areas which require, so that there is a boost in these areas out there. In the electrical segment, today from the alternative sources, nearly about 7.7% is energy comes from some of the areas, alternative sources, other than I'm talking of the hydro, major hydro. In one way, in the sense, hydro also is a renewable energy, alternative energy in the sense that we have got a bigger projects on that. The alternative sources, the bulk comes from the windmills. There are many areas which are functioning. Solar energy is really untapped in India, except some very limited extent, and there are many areas on that. The Electricity Act 2003 gave certain specific areas or the regulations with regard to the renewable energy areas. In fact, one of the objectives of the Regulatory Commission given by the Act itself is to promote and develop cogeneration and also renewable energy. Towards that, these commissions are working at the central level, and similar is given in the state level commissions also have been given. national electricity policy has also enunciated by the government has very clearly given the state regulatory commissions can prescribe a minimum of percentage of purchase obligations by all the distributors from the alternative sources or renewable sources. In fact, many states have prescribed such obligations also there. And it also prescribes a preferential tariff can be given to such resources. Because today those are economically may not be able to stand along with the other regular resources. These areas actually our regulatory commissions are working towards that, and the Ministry of the Renewable Energy, they are also having numerous programs in this regard. They have got a forum of regulators under the Electricity Act, where the Central Electricity Regulatory Commission and all the state level commissions, we form a forum where we have decided we have to immediately work to have these minimum purchase obligations at 10%. And by 2010, we are planning to reach that level. There are some states who have already reached, like Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, they have already reached 10%. But many states are yet to take anything on that. So by giving the purchase obligation and also the preferential tariff, probably the more investment can come in those areas. Now we have also commissioned a study on the tariff parameters for the non-conventional or alternative energy sources, how the pricing of such energy needs to be done, because it cannot be done in the same way as it is being done in other areas. So such studies are going on, and the one area which is much talked about in India is, but nothing has been done, is the using this biofuel as a part of the transportation sector, where we have been quoting the model of Brazil and other South American countries, where the considerable percentage of these biofuels are mixed with that. Of course, the earlier our former President of India used to pioneer himself, talking everywhere there. But in the ground level, I think nothing has been done. No, the oil companies are said they will do it, because slightly the subject is state subject, center subject, and there is no such centralized agency, because these molasses are the main sources. It comes under the state subject. There is no central agency. That is the area where we are lacking in that. Otherwise, that could be a good amount of biofuel utilization can come in the transportation sector. With this initial thing, now I will leave the floor to our referees. The first one, as I mentioned, by Dr. Mikasimu, Head of Department, Institute of Strategic Studies.
Despite the fact that my presentation is about the alternative energy in Russia, also I would like to look at the issue from a wider perspective, not restricted to Russia only. Non-traditional sources of energy comprise heat of the Earth's geothermal energy, solar energy, including wind, ocean waves, heat of the oceans and seas, small hydro energy, tidal waves, biogas, power stations, heat pumps, etc. The total solar energy reaching our planet 6.7 times exceeds the world resources of organic fuels. Even 0.5% use of this energy potential would meet the mankind energy demand for 1,000 years. In 2006, the share of alternative energy sources in the world supply amounted to 0.6%. At present, geothermal energy is considered one of the most stable energy sources. According to the International Energy Agency, by 2030, the share of alternative energy sources will increase to 10% if the current policies are applied, and its share will be 14% if the policies now under consideration will be implemented. It is a widely spread misperception that Russia is in favor of oil and gas fuel and opposes alternative sources of energy. Russian scientists, politicians are well aware of the importance of the renewable energy sources, and we must take part in their development for future generations. At the same time, we have to guard ourselves against excessive expectations with regard to alternative energy forecasts. We tend to consider those energy sources as an addition to the overall energy consumption pattern. Most probably, it will remain such in the coming decade, with a positive role to energy consumers in the whole world. The first positive effect from alternative energy sources is that the world population can avoid acute energy shortages. Theoretical evaluations of energy potential for different countries reveal huge quantities of oil equivalent. Of course, there is a great distance between theory and its practical implementation, but the main goal of guaranteed and sustainable meeting of energy demand by the energy industry can be achieved. There is a certain time period which allows adopting balanced and well thought of measures in this regard. The second positive effect of alternative energy sources on the world energy market is in its influence on the formation of energy prices. Of course, it is true only in respect to the average prices and tendencies, without speculative highs and lows of the market. For example, in the 1990s, it was said that the so-called fair price of oil should have been within $28 per barrel range. And the average cost of many types of renewable and alternative energy sources was priced at $30 per barrel of oil equivalent. Nowadays, if we admit that the fair price of oil is around $70 per barrel, the same price constitutes the break-even level for several alternative energy sources. To be fair, we have to admit that there is also negative influence of the energy sources on the energy development. This influence doesn't come from the alternative energy as it is, but from excessively high expectations of their practical implementation. Those unrealistic expectations inhibit investment activities in the so-called traditional energy sources. A balance of interests and the dialogue of interested parties should be maintained. With regard to the Russian alternative energy gross potential, the existing estimates vary from 1.6 to 20 trillion tons of oil equivalent, depending on different calculations of the geothermal potential. In order to bring the theory closer to reality, we have to answer two questions. Do we have enough knowledge to use that enormous energy potential? And how do we have to pay, how much now in reality other estimates play important roles, such as technical potential of alternative energy, that is, what amount of energy we could get using existing technologies, and its economic potential, which is economically feasible amount of alternative energy production. Technically, overall alternative energy potential in Russia is much lower than theoretical, but still amounts to 15 billion tons of oil equivalent. This is also quite impressive if we take into account that at present the world energy consumption equals to 12 billion tons of oil equivalent. The structure of alternative energy technical potential in Russia has the following breakdown. Geothermal energy amounts to 49%, solar energy 40%, wind energy 9%. Even though other types of alternative energy amount to less than 1%, they still are very important, as their volumes can reach tens of millions of tons of oil equivalent. Besides, their comparative roles will change as we start evaluating economic feasibility of their use. Now, slide 7 illustrates estimates of alternative energy potential production, which is economically viable and competitive with traditional types of fuel. Note that those types of alternative energy sources that occupy a lower part in the previous table in terms of technical capacity transfer to the leading positions in terms of economic considerations. The geothermal energy is still in the first place with about 1/3 of the total alternative energy economic potential. Very similar economic potential has small hydropower and biomass energy, about 21 to 22% of the total potential. Low potential heat claims about 16%, followed by wind and solar energy. Slide 8 illustrates comparative theoretical across technical and economic potentials of alternative energy sources in Russia. Energy saving and alternative energy potentials are roughly similar. The Russian government adopted a program to develop alternative energy sources based on wider use of renewable energy. At present, all alternative energy production in Russia accounts only for 8.5 billion kilowatts per year. That is less than 1% of the total Russian energy production. There are only several projects of this kind operating presently in Russia. They include wind electricity, just a moment, I'll find this. Wind electricity generation facilities in Bashkortostan and Kaliningrad. There are about 1,500 units with 0.1 to 16 kilowatt each. Then Mutnov geothermal power station in Kamchatka. You see this, the red color shows the areas which are reaching geothermal energy. So, and it's exactly in Kamchatka region that this geothermal power station is being operated. Tidal wave power station in Kola Peninsula. In Kislogubsk power station with 400 kilowatt. 50 micro hydropower stations. This map shows those areas which are rich in hydro resources. The darker color are richer. And then 300 small hydropower stations with total capacity of 2 billion kilowatt hours. Solar collectors, about 100,000 square meters. And solar batteries, total with 100 kilowatt. And 3,000 heat pumps. So in solar resources, of course, the southern parts of Russia are richer in solar energy than those to the north. If the new program is implemented in solar energy, then those to the north. If the new program is implemented, the share of alternative energy use will increase to 1.5% in 2010 and 4.5% to 2020, in 2020. The Russian state company Hydro, with the biggest projects of alternative energy development up to 2012, plans to build 5 pilot projects of wind energy generators with total capacity of 30 megawatts. A pilot project of tidal power station with 12 megawatt capacity. The same company will undertake research and pilot projects in small hydropower stations. 2.5 megawatt binary energy station, which uses energy of steam and water. Use of secondary steam at 12.5 megawatt Mutnov geothermal power station, which is under construction now. And there are plans to build about 25 gigawatt of electricity generating capacity based on alternative energy sources up to 2020. Since the alternative energy production in Russia isn't profitable, the state envisages a regulation for investors to have a return on their investment for every kilowatt hour produced at alternative energy power plants. But until now, there is no government regulation regarding the sale of electricity generated by alternative energy sources to the district electricity grids. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next paper will be presented by Dr. Negi, Director from the Ministry of New and Renewable Resources.
Yes, sir. We discussed yesterday about the country's perspective plans to utilize domestic resources so as to achieve sustained growth rate at 8 to 10% in next 25 years, and also to meet the energy requirements of its citizens. I will focus only on renewable energy in the country. What my presentation will focus on the development and deployment of renewable technologies, the institutional mechanism that has been created in the country to meet our requirements. As we have already discussed, the energy security and the sustainable development aspects that are being pursued at the national level. So the development and deployment of renewable energy in India is driven by national energy security concerns and sustainable development. Ministry of New and Renewable Energy is the nodal ministry. I'll just talk about the ministry's program and brief, and then I will highlight the achievement made through these slides. Ministry of New and Renewable Energy is the nodal ministry of the Government of India for all measures relating to new and renewable energy. Its vision is to develop new and renewable energy technologies, processes, materials, components, subsystems, products and services at par with international specifications, standards and performance parameters, and deploys indigenously developed and or manufactured products and services in furtherance of the national goals of energy security and energy independence. A large, broad spectrum program covering of the entire range of new and renewable energies is implemented in the country. Research and development efforts are focused on development of efficient and cost-effective technologies. The renewable energy program in India has evolved in three distinctive at the stages. In the first stage, from about the late 1970s to the early 1980s, the thrust of the national effort in this field was directed towards capacity building and R&D, largely in national laboratories and educational institutions. The second stage, from early 1980s to the end of the decade, witnessed a major expansion with accent on large-scale demonstration and subsidy-driven extension activities. The expansion program, a vast network of institutions and non-government organizations, right down to the level of self-employed workers and organizations at the grassroots level. In the third current stage, extending from the beginning of the last decade, the emphasis has been more on applications of mature technologies for power generation based on wind, small hydro, biogas, cogeneration and other biomass systems, as well as for industrial applications of solar and other forms of energy. There has also been a gradual shift from the subsidy-driven mode to commercially driven activities in the area. Since 2006 and 2007, new impetus has been given to research and development of cutting-edge new and renewable technologies such as next-generation solar technologies, hydrogen and fuel cells, biofuels, etc. Government policy initiatives facilitated development and deployment of renewable energy technologies, deployment of renewable energy systems, devices, is facilitated through provision of fiscal and financial incentives that include accelerated operation, nil concessional excise duty on manufacture of most renewable energy systems, devices, concessional tariffs for import of capital equipment, materials and components, preferential tariff for renewable power, subsidies for various renewable energy applications in rural, urban and industrial areas. Foreign investors are being encouraged to set up renewable power projects on build, own and operate basis. 100% foreign direct investment is allowed under the automatic rule. Now briefly I will touch on ongoing technological intervention. Renewables are development imperative as energy for future and therefore requires continuous support for development of efficient and cost-effective technologies. Technology is key element for the growth of renewable energy. Many technologies are currently at the threshold of economic viability. Strong R&D capacity and manufacturing base for a number of renewable energy systems, devices, namely solar water heating system, solar cooker, solar photovoltaic system, wind machines, biomass power generation systems has been created in the country. Wind electric systems of capacities of 1.5 megawatt to 2 megawatt are being produced by an Indian company. During the 11th plan, the aim of the ministry is to add 15,000 megawatt renewable power, 14,000 megawatt from grid interactive and 1,000 from distributed power. Apart from urban and industrial applications, solar water heating, biogas and remote village electrification and lighting programs. An amount of rupees 600 crore has been proposed for research and development in new and renewable energy during the 11th plan. According to a prospective approach paper for renewable energy, it is aimed to achieve the share of grid interactive renewable power to be 10% by 2012 to 2032. In alternate fuels, biofuels, synthetic fuels and hydrogen, it aims substitution up to 5% by 2017 and 10% by 2032. The aim is to facilitate development of indigenously designed, developed and manufactured new and renewable energy products and services that are reliable, convenient, safe, efficient and affordable. Emphasis is being placed to reduce the cost of renewable power projects and increase the efficiency. Solar water has great potential in India for attaining energy independence in the long run. In emerging technologies, the country has been pursuing research and development in bioenergy, biofuels, hydrogen energy and fuel cells technologies for transportation and power generation. The Hydrogen Energy Board has been established to oversee efforts for the development of hydrogen in the country. We have in the country established three institutions to carry out the research and development and testing of the renewable energy devices in the country. Solar Center that is created at Gwalpadi, Gurgaon, facilitates, catches the needs of the research and development and testing, standardization of solar energy systems. Center for Wind Energy Technology, established at Chennai, catches the needs of development and testing and standards of the wind electric systems. We have also developed a Sardar Swaran Singh National Institute of Renewable Energy at Kapurthala, Punjab, which will cater the needs of the development and deployment of bioenergy systems. In addition, we have the Ministry has been supporting R&D programs in the Institute of Science Bangalore in the area of bioenergy, and also at Hyderabad Hydrogen Center in IIT Roorkee in the area of small SHP, small hydropower. We have also a finance institutions called the Indian Renewable Energy Development Agency that has been set up to promote the spread of the renewable energy power generating capacity in the country by providing market development assistance and soft loans. International lending institutions have been extended lines of credit to IREDA, taking into excellent track record for onboard lending to promote the development energy system. This is in addition to that, I will the R&D in the R&D sector, in the R&D area, what are the stress areas that I will cover in my presentations. So before that, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm B.S. Negi, but I deal with the research and development program in the ministry for last 1.5 years. Prior to that, I was dealing with international corporations in renewable energy for 4-5 years, and during that period, I was able to contribute to establishment of so many, around 8 to 10 bilateral, multilateral international cooperation frameworks with the USA, with the EU, under multilateral cooperation program, APPCD, Asia Pacific Cooperation, Asia Pacific, APPCDC. This is related to clean development and climate. And then we had also interaction with Japan, Korea, Australia, South Korea, China, Canada, and so many other countries for bilateral and multilateral cooperation activities. We are also a great contributor to the climate change. Around 30% of renewable projects in the total CDM activities.